What is going on, you guys? Today I have another episode for you where I'm going to be reviewing a YouTube channel called Chad Foster Explores. And the title here is Reasons Why People Prefer Vietnam over the Philippines. I haven't been to either one, so it seems interesting. Let's get into it.
Hey, what's up, guys? Are you curious at all about the surrounding countries here in the Philippines, like Vietnam, for example? I've been curious about Vietnam for a while now. It comes up in conversation all the time. Why people love it more than the Philippines. Thailand, of course, comes up a lot, sometimes Cambodia. And in this conversation that I have with my friend Stefan, we talk about some really interesting points of why he thinks Vietnam is so much better than the Philippines, but not for everything. The Philippines, in his mind, wins on some levels, but Vietnam is the perfect place on some other levels. One of the biggest things that people are curious about, is it actually a good place to meet a partner? Is the language barrier going to impact it too much to make it a good place? Is there the same level of interest to have a foreigner boyfriend like it is here in the Philippines? You know, is age gap, is that a thing in Vietnam compared to here, which is so prevalent? We talk about all kinds of different things regarding that, and culture and food and lifestyle. I learned so much from it. I'm that much more curious about it, and I can't wait to get over there so I can do my own, comparing and contrasting of the two. But Stefan does a great job doing that. Really think you're gonna like this video. Let's get to it.
And I noticed in some way like this age gap thing that is like a norm, let's say here in the Philippines, is not that much pronounced there. It's not encouraged by the family, but I think when it happened, it's really sugar baby, sugar daddy. I haven't noticed or seen couples that you see here in the Philippines and Vietnam. This is a completely different culture. But they are so kind. Like those people are so kind. There's the language barrier. I'm gonna go jazz again.
it's gonna jump around, folks.
Yeah.
No worries. Let your mind do its thing.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'll try to bring it back.
Go,
so to
yeah.
start, you mentioned the age gap thing. So you did not see many big age gap relationships.
It's not
in
culturally something that is.
It's taboo.
No, not even taboo, not encouraged. Like it's not crossing the mind of the girls. I mean, of course, age gap is a thing, but you can split in two at least compared to the Philippines.
As far as it's not
you
that
can
big
see
gap.
you can see more like in the more than you can see in the West as something that could be accepted or tolerated.
10
right?
years maybe, something like that.
Yeah, but it's
Not
not.
the 30,
It's
40
not a
plus.
thing. It's not a thing. Like maybe
Okay.
like for me as a 50 to date a 30-something year old woman, which is like a 20-year age gap. But
Yeah.
we're talking about a grown-up woman who's mature.
Right.
Like the age gap between 35 and 55 is not the same as even 20 and 30, which is big
Yeah.
in terms of life experience. So
Yeah, right. In the Philippines, it's common to see university age
the
students
deal is
with
not the same.
retired
It
guys.
doesn't seem to be the same. The thing that I tried is maybe using some dating app, but they're not on that. And it's
Really?
yeah, or
They weren't
maybe
on
maybe
it.
I haven't found the proper one. But I think it's so traditional and conservative that they don't even want to put themselves out there.
On a dating app.
Like if you come from a very small place, for example, I felt that the mentality, even if as young as a 30,000 people town or maybe
Yeah.
more, I forgot. But let's say you come from a very small place in Quebec and you put yourself on a dating app. Everyone in the village is gonna know about it. So I think there's this kind of thing there.
Interesting.
They're super traditional. The family value are obviously strong. I don't know how much of a parallel we can make with the Philippines. I would say it's something Asian, because like anywhere else in Asia, they don't have the social net that we have in the West. So it's always the children who take care of the eldest. But one thing I can say about Vietnam, I don't know about their politics that much, other than it's like some sort of a communist, socialist regime, but I haven't investigated that. But I can tell you one thing. I feel that they are more contented there. It seems like they cannot go as low as here when shit happens. That's how I feel.
What do you mean?
I feel like
elaborate.
there's some sort of social net or something that makes them happier. Because of I'm gonna give you maybe it's a not dumb but a simple example. You have those gyms outside every town. It's like a metallic structure to exercise yourself. So it's something for the public. They do more for the people. The government do more for the people.
Okay.
So I don't know if in the real world when you get sick what happens. I don't know about it, but I just feel things are better there. But I also went in small places in the mountains where obviously life is really tough as anywhere else. But it seems like something there makes the people more, not necessarily happier, but yeah,
They're
in some
taken
way.
care of more. There's less struggle despite poverty.
Yeah.
There's more social support.
But I've seen struggle, but I don't know, for some reason it seems easier. So maybe this has an impact about the age gap, but because
And
the age
desperation.
gap here has something to do also with stability and financial support that an older man can provide
Right.
to a younger woman, which there, this thing is not as strong as here.
It's not as
So,
necessary.
Yeah, of course.
How often do you see foreigner and Vietnamese girl couples?
In Hanoi, I've seen a little bit.
Not anything like here.
No,
So not only age gap, but you just mean in general.
we're not the
relationship.
price there. They are. They know their value. Like if you go in a city.
So age gap is less common in Vietnam, sounds like, and then foreigner couples are less common in Vietnam, sounds like, and that makes sense. Maybe if someone is an expert on this, or you know better, definitely drop a comment in the space below, because I would be curious to hear your thoughts and your experience on this, because that's what it sort of seems like with Thailand a little bit too. Not quite the same. I would imagine Vietnam would be even more, or even less of the foreigner couples, right? Because it seems like it would be less common for them to speak English. Because even in Thailand, it's not like super common. I mean, there's a decent amount of them that speak English, but you go over there and you should expect to maybe have to learn the language. So that would make sense what he's saying for sure. In the Philippines, of course, being more Americanized, like a lot of them speak English, so it's a lot more friendly to English speakers. So I hear what he's saying, and that all makes sense, and that would contribute to the reason why there might be less age gap and foreigner couples.
Like Hanoi specifically, because I don't know about Ho Chi Minh and Da Nang and Nha Trang and all those other cool places that I've heard from friends. I've been in Hanoi and in Ha Giang, basically, yeah.
What about any couple, even if they're the same age, with a foreigner and someone from just a local girl?
I haven't
That's rare
seen.
too.
No, this is, you can see, but this is not a trend like here. Here is a trend, and I noticed even that in the Philippines, since COVID, it got higher. One thing I found that is sad about the Philippines is like it seems like before the Spanish invasion, they forgot. They don't even know who they were. It's like erased from their brain or the social. How can we say that? Subconscious, which is in Hanoi or in Vietnam, it's still connected. You know,
The history
they're
plays a big
worshiping their
part.
ancestor. There's not this disruption like we have here because of the Spanish invasion. It's not there. So this probably has an impact on the relationship as well, because the tradition roots are still felt and present. And the same in the buildings, and when you go to visit some places, it's kind of if it was older. If you want to get in touch with the older Philippine, you have to go into tribes and remote places to get in touch with that. It's lost otherwise, and
you
I
think
find it
there's-
really sad personally.
It sounds like they're more connected to their own culture, their own history,
The
where
the roots,
where the
yeah.
Philippines is more connected. A lot of it's connected to U.S. with the U.S. influence,
And
obviously
Spain.
Spain and Spanish influence from Spanish rule. But the big change is when they became a free country after the U.S. came in. So they have this draw to the
Yeah.
West, they have this draw to the
Yeah.
U.S. And we've talked about this, how foreigners are treated so well here, and there's almost this privilege of being
I feel
here.
uncomfortable with that sometimes even.
Yeah, but how would you compare? So everyone knows everyone talks about the Philippines, treats you so well as a
Yeah.
foreigner. They're so curious
So
about
well
where you're
treated
from.
in Vietnam as
How is
well.
it?
It's like
Can you speak to that?
kindness, like in a city is the same as most city, but I feel like they are so polite and kind. Even I was in the complete north. I needed a SIM card. The guy was probably poor. He had a shop. He gave me the SIM card with data on it, and I insisted. He said no. And I went to they're very, 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 very kind. They take pictures with you.
Okay.
It's a
So
little bit
similar
like,
to the Philippines in that regard.
even more like
Really?
you go to, especially if you go outside the city, you go in the remote area, like when I drive the bike on my way from Hanoi to Ha Giang or
Yeah.
Sapa, for people who know Sapa more, which I haven't gone yet. But it happened often that teenagers come to me and they just want to take a picture. You see that in India as well. But I don't see that in the Philippines. Like
Sometimes.
random people on the street
It
who wants
happens.
to. Oh, it didn't
Not
happen
often.
yet.
Yeah, it happens here.
But there it's often.
More often.
Yeah, and when you go, and if you ride the bike
Yeah.
in the countryside, and it's like 3 p.m. after, like
Sure.
the children, like
Yeah.
everyone does that here, like hello.
Yeah, yeah.
But in Vietnam, I would say it's even more.
Let me
They're
ask
more
you this.
curious because they see less Westerner than here, actually.
Oh, Okay.
Yeah.
In the countryside.
Yeah, of course, and even in town.
I have to mention this, and I hate to say it, but it happens so often. So everyone is friendly here, and the
Yeah.
kids are friendly. But
Yeah.
I would say 9 times out of 10, when the kids wave at you in the province, they wave, they say hi, and then they say, "Give me money."
Yeah.
It happens in the Philippines all the time. There's sort of this: they see a foreigner and they think they're rich, they have money. It's just normal here to think that way. Do you get that pressure in Vietnam? This sense of
No,
foreigner, I
no.
want money from the foreigner.
No, at all. That's completely not. I haven't felt that. Of course, in the city, you have beggars and scammers and whatever, like everywhere else. But no,
That's interesting.
yeah, I don't feel that thing there.
You mentioned before the government.
It's genuine. I think it's more genuine kindness. But what you just said, like they say hi and then they ask for money. I don't know. It depends on where you are, I guess. I don't know. Have you experienced that in Leyte or in places
Yes.
where there are less foreigners?
Yes.
Like in Biliran, I was shocked. Oh my God, there's so many beggars there. I was like, really?
It happens often in the province for kids that
I notice it when you stop like a 7-Eleven. There's always a kid like, yeah.
And I don't mean beggars.
If
I
he
mean,
plays guitar, I'm gonna help, or if he does something.
No, this is like
but-
they almost say it in a joke, like, "Hey, bro,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah,
foreigner,
yeah,
hey,"
yeah.
and then they say,
Yeah,
"Money,
yeah, this is
can I
not
have money?"
cool. I don't like
And it's
it.
kind of they're laughing. It's not like it's meant to be really rude or anything, but it's something they do here. So there's like the beggars that will come around with dirty face, and they're like, I need food. They do this.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
that's one thing, right? You see that city in some province too.
Yeah, sure.
What I'm talking about is normal kids, normal. The philosophy here is that foreigners have money. Elders
Okay,
joke about it, but the young kids aren't afraid to just joke and say, "Give me."
Okay. Yeah, I actually saw this a little bit in Bali. Obviously, a different place, although it was the same concept. I didn't realize what he was saying at first. So it was clearly well dressed. You know, they had haircuts, like they were looking clean. Younger, it was like kids to teenagers. Like often they had like a couple young ones and like a older, maybe a teenager, maybe early 20s guy with them, sort of supervising them, and they would go out to the traffic light and ask for money. And it wasn't really like they did something. Like it's not like they were playing guitar. And it also didn't look like they were like starving or anything. It was like they just knew that, and they would go to me, right? Like they'd see me at the traffic light, the foreigner, and go straight to me. Like they wouldn't go to any of the other Indonesian people there. So it was very clear what was happening there. And, you know, I'm happy to help somebody. You know, I have no problem doing that. It's just like, it doesn't, I know what he's saying. It doesn't feel good when that's happening all the time. Like, oh, I see you, and now you're like, I have to get money from this guy. I know exactly what he's saying. And I mean, and that makes sense. It's not necessarily a good feeling. Like, we all want to be able to help someone out, of course. That's one thing. It's just, I think it probably feels a little bit overbearing if that continues to happen to you over and over. Like, you're sort of like a target for it. It's like, you know, you want to be able to go out and kind of enjoy yourself in peace a little bit. And, of course, sometimes help someone out, too.
Something that I don't know if I know what I'm talking about, but I would say like the way they have been raised, they don't do it because they're proud. They want to.
That's it.
Yeah, they have more dignity. Is that the proper word? I don't know, but I don't want to be rude toward Filipino. But I think because of this traditional thing, this is maybe the good thing about still being in touch with your roots, even if it makes things go slower into the world of being modernized and like those countries, like I compare to India, like it's slow there, the caste and the stuff, it's like a complete other thing. And you go in city, it's different, of course. But in Vietnam, I feel better. I feel not annoyed by that, by religion or by politics, which people don't talk that much about here. When I was in Ha Giang, the first day I was there was this big festival, food festival. There was food from everywhere in Vietnam, and I was the only guy with the white skin. And because they're near China, like their genetics, they're smaller. They already are small people, but I was a giant there. It was so funny. I was alone with white skin and super tall. So you're very more unique, or they don't see as many foreigners. So that may be why also they don't have this culture of like the kids begging for money because we're not enough. It's not a habit. It's not something like maybe parents push toward or whatever, or they're just the smart kid or they're not smart kid, depending on how you look at it. But they just say, okay, I'm gonna go to the 7-Eleven if I'm lucky, or the McDonald's here, you see. So they don't have that there, and I think they don't even have McDonald's. And we listen to Vietnamese music, which is cool. You don't hear Justin Bieber in Vietnam.
Interesting.
You hear their Justin Bieber. It's more protected. A little bit like in Quebec, like the government put money to help French music to be alive. So there's something like that there that I really appreciate, but I feel more relaxed. The food is so much more healthier. In the Philippines, I get fat in a month. 5 kg minimum. In Vietnam, I lose 5 kg without even thinking about it. You have to look for the sugar. Here, you want to avoid it, it's impossible.
Yeah, it's fried food or
They don't have fried. The
sweet.
meat is boiled. They use greens, herbs. You take a mango shake. It's like real mango, no added bullshit. It's really good. It's healthy. Like the coffee, man. Just to go to Vietnam just for the coffee.
Yeah.
If you're a coffee fan, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. Like it's amazing.
Would you say it's
That's a good point that he brings up because I'm not sure, but I feel like there's probably a scale of what's healthiest. It's probably Vietnamese, Thai, and then Filipino. And of course, you can add in the other Asian dishes, Japanese, Chinese, etc. Just for the sake of this conversation, because I've seen, I've lived in Thailand, right, and I've seen them add MSG or add sugar to dishes that are like a fried rice dish that doesn't need sugar. And so what I'm saying is I've heard that, and I think they're probably going to talk about it. I've heard that about because a lot of the Filipino stuff is a little bit more Americanized, so there's all this like extra stuff added to it, which is harder to be healthier. So I can definitely see how it would be easier to stay healthy. I mean, you can do it in any of these countries, by the way. You can always make sure to have the right ingredients in your food and just go to healthy places. It just sounds like it's probably easier in Vietnam based on the way that they eat and the culture.
difficult to find a genuine relationship in Vietnam?
No, it's just different parameters. I don't
okay.
think it's difficult. No,
Would
it's
you-
just because we're talking about age gap and we're comparing to the Philippines. But I think if you want to have a Vietnamese girlfriend,
Yeah, let's get rid of age gap. Just a good
yeah,
girl, maybe
yeah.
a little bit younger,
Well,
whatever.
yeah, of
but-
course, whatever. Sometimes age gap, yes, but you're gonna go to the poorer places.
So you think age gap is really reflective of, let's just say, desperation, needing more security support,
I
and
think,
then those,
of course,
and that's what you think.
I think it is. But the thing here, as I mentioned, is you can find something so genuine, and what a Filipino can bring on the table is worth so much. But okay, we're talking about maybe a minority, or not that much, but you can find it here. You can find it there too, I guess. You can date easily in town. In the smaller places, you see women are interested. Yes, you can see that women are interested.
When you get out of the city, just like here.
It's different, but it's going to be more like a 30-year-old woman who's single. She's going to literally
Okay.
really like, they go straight to you.
So it's similar.
Not the
but-
younger. The younger, they look at you. Like those look in the eyes, you can find you're just driving a scooter in the Philippines, and it's like, I feel like just the look in the eyes tells you like, oh, I wish maybe you were my boyfriend, or kind of. There's something like that you can see in the eyes of the Filipina in the provinces when you just drive your scooter in a random place. You have that in Hanoi, but the vibe is completely different. They are really well dressed. They are really classy. The infrastructures there are much superior. As I told you, the roots of the tradition and their who they are is stronger, so that makes a difference.
What I see in this is what I think are the huge benefits of being in Vietnam. You have, I think, a deeper, more rich culture that you're going to experience, including
Access to it, at
access
least. It's
to
more
it.
vibrant.
It's more part of being there.
Yeah,
you feel
it's
it.
there. It's still there.
And the food is a
The
part of that
food,
culture.
The nature, really, like, man, the nature there is like phenomenal.
Okay, so nature as well,
Oh
which is
my
a big
God.
thing here for people too. But so it has the
No, it has nothing to do. Like, it's so much.
better than here.
I say like the mountain, the shape. You feel like you're in the moon. On the moon, it's crazy. Like it's very different.
Okay.
And everything is so. Yeah, whatever country you are in Asia, you
Yeah.
have options that you don't have in the West. Like to make it short, Philippines is something, and I think Philippines has this Christian background and the English, which makes it easier and maybe more trendy. Otherwise than that, even if I haven't traveled other Southeast Asian country, I would say that in a way or in another is the same. You're gonna have easy access to a larger pool of women in terms of dating and choice, of course.
If you could live in Vietnam or the Philippines, let's say you have a wife and you're
Yeah.
happy. Let's not even say where she's from.
Okay.
Where would you live?
I would tend to say Vietnam.
All right, single guy. Now you're not married, and you have to choose a place to live for a
And
year.
I just want to date as many girls as I
No,
want.
you want to find the one for you, the perfect girl for you. Whatever that is, we don't need to get into it. Do you spend a year in Vietnam, renewing your visa, exiting, coming back, all those hassles, or do you stay in the Philippines and just renew your visa and stay for a year?
I don't care renewing my visa.
Okay.
That's not
Well,
it's,
for some
it's
people.
not in the balance for me at
Okay.
all. And then they have the 3 months now and whatever.
So that's not a barrier for you.
Really not.
So you have
Especially
to pick.
that to go to Vietnam is cheaper, to get out of Vietnam is cheaper, the food is cheaper, so much things are better.
All right.
The language barrier is a thing. And if you look for a really younger woman, you're gonna have more of a hard time finding her. But if you look for a genuine, fantastic woman, you're gonna find her there. Or
Okay.
in Thailand, I guess, or in Cambodia. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so you're not going to get the younger options there, but
Less.
less.
My first idea when I moved 2 years ago and a half in Bali was to have a Filipina girlfriend in Bali.
Yeah, a lot of people
But,
say that.
but
They wanna-
now I'm
yeah.
into having a Filipina girlfriend in Vietnam.
Okay.
And let's go to Bali.
I've actually heard that before. There's another channel that some of you may have watched before called Zoom to Thailand. Go check him out as well. He's had different conversations with a lot of expats, and they say the same thing, like having a Filipina girlfriend in Thailand or a Filipina girlfriend here, like where they want to live. Basically, they have a strong preference towards Filipinas, and I think it has a lot to do with their nurturing behavior, like very feminine, very nurturing, very bubbly, very like happy. You know, they're really good at like joking, going back and forth. So obviously, there's like a really fun and caring nature to them.
Sometime and bring her to Canada sometime as a vacation, but I will not move back in Canada with my girl. No.
What you're saying, I've heard so many times. Meet the girl in the Philippines and then take her to, if you want to live in Thailand, take her there.
Yeah.
Move there.
You
Move
heard-
to
you heard
Bali.
that? It's true?
I've heard this a lot.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not the unique.
Well, you're touching
Oh.
on some things, right? I think there's more options in the Philippines, and the language barrier isn't there.
More option for the younger, not more on option.
Okay.
I'm not sure I would say that. There is more option.
Okay, and then so the only other.
Of course, if you're 65 and you weigh 300 pounds and you have heart problems and things like that, probably it's going to be easier for you to find a genuine woman who's going to be willing to take care of you as a caregiver and offer you genuine, nice partnership. You know?
Here in the
Yeah,
Philippines.
you're going to see like older guys.
Yeah.
So the people who are judging like the 20, let's say, because I haven't seen it, but let's say a 20-year-old girl with an 80-year-old guy. This is companionship and care. And this can be a good deal, but we're not talking about the crazy sex life or things like that. It's something very.
But
You can say transactional, but I don't like the term at all. But there's a thing,
Yeah.
you know. But it's going to be easier in the Philippines to find something like that if you, let's say, have less to offer in a certain way, which I.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Not just age gap, but you mentioned overweight. So even the look.
An example, as an
Yeah.
example of in Vietnam, you're talking about look and health. Like everybody walks, everybody has a bicycle. I'm talking about the eldest
Yeah.
people.
Oh.
They are so healthy.
Okay,
there.
speak on that. Let's be
Overweight
raw
at
about
25. You see, we talked about that. Like
What do you
the-
see here in the Philippines with health as girls get older?
You have Coca-Cola full of sugar. You have sugar in the bread. You have. And I'm a sugar addict. It's difficult for me. It's like if I was an alcoholic in a bar, being in the Philippines for me with the sugar. In Vietnam, it's not there.
Are girls, as they age,
Slim.
they stay slim?
Slim.
Even the 30s and
Slim.
40s
They're
and
really careful
50s,
about
yeah.
it, and the food diet is more balanced. It's much healthier. Like there's a big difference. This, which would be a big reason for me to live in Vietnam. If you put a gun on my head and I have to choose, I will go to Vietnam. But the culture and the connection and the common background, the language and the Christianity and all sorts of things that are more human related, it's easier with the Philippines. But for my health, Vietnam, 100%. For the culture, Vietnam, 100%.
What do you mentioned girls stay slim as they get older in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Is that the same here in the Philippines?
I would say, sadly, no.
No, I agree.
Yeah, for a reason that, yeah.
Diet.
no.
And
But this is
exercise.
what's presented to them, and
That's
I
right.
put the fault on the back of the government, who
Right,
sucks
totally.
here, like really bad.
Cheap food.
They give them
is
crap,
unhealthy.
they keep them ignorant, and they can do whatever they want, and they sell them Coca-Cola instead of, like,
Yeah, I mean, it's Americanized, so it sounds like the U.S. I'm from the U.S., so I know what they're saying, which makes sense why they're saying having a Filipina girlfriend in Thailand or Vietnam or somewhere else.
everything is there, even for the healing, in the nature, everything is there, and this is lost knowledge. They have access to everything, but you find so many pharmacies here. It's like
all
insane.
pills, take your pills.
It's so sad. It's so sad. Like, man, this is something that I.
Nothing's preventative.
You have
for
more
health,
tradition in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
for holistic
Yeah.
health.
Yeah, I would say definitely.
Yeah.
Even if the big pharma is everywhere, yeah. again, it's because the tradition roots are more present. So that's a good thing about tradition, even if sometimes it's hard, it's slow, and those people want to get out of it. That's why they come to us. The more I'm in Asia, the more I appreciate tradition, the more I understand it also in a way which I didn't before. You know, like the no sex before marriage, like as a Western guy, like from the 80s or something. Oh, what the heck is that? Now that I'm living here, okay, I understand. This is there for a reason, and it makes sense. You find virgin women in their mid-late 20s here, which is probably rare, but in the West, like, I don't know like the stats, but let's say a 20-year-old girl has probably had sex with quite a bunch of guys, the norm.
Just to circle back real quick, you mentioned health is part of the culture. They walk a lot, they exercise. The food is presented to them. The access to food is healthy. What about the mindset? Are Vietnamese people and Vietnamese women focused on health conscious? Are they health conscious as opposed to here where they're maybe not?
My favorite hotel, there's one of those gyms that you find in the city everywhere. You see women do Tai Chi. Older people, like, you know, like whatever machine it is to have their body move. They do pedal bike, they walk. If I don't move in Vietnam, because it's so affordable to go to Vietnam, I will always go there often, even if I decided to build a house in the Philippines, which probably will be simpler, but I would go to Vietnam for the culture and my health. Have peace, the nature, the food, just the food. I go there and I don't even have to think about it and I become healthier, like that.
That's huge.
You barely see a fat woman there. It's like...
You need more time in Vietnam to find a good girlfriend? Like much more time compared to here?
I think if it takes more time, it's because of the culture gap, the language.
Yeah.
Not the willingness, but just the connecting because of the language barrier.
I would say that.
Okay.
But you're probably going to have people who are living in Vietnam watching this video. They will answer more than me.
Of course.
Those are my impression.
Yeah. If you had to say yes or no, though, meet the Filipina and then move to Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that answers what a lot of people are.
That's For now, that would be my answer.
Yeah.
A Filipina.
And then go there.
In my backpack.
In your motorcycle. And off you go to Vietnam.
Yes. This is.
I think that's perfect, man. That answers so many questions I think people have, and me too.
But I think it's really like the language and the culture that makes things easier. I'm not sure it's because the genuinely, or I think that's the factor.
For sure.
I think
if you could speak Vietnamese,
of course,
this could be a completely different experience. You don't even know.
I don't have a clue.
Yeah. Right. The connections they could come quick.
Probably.
There could be so many great opportunities. So the language has to be
If there
the
are some people from Vietnam or who travel in Vietnam, or a guy who's married with the Vietnamese, please.
Yeah, I heard it's a tough language to learn. Much harder than Tagalog and Bisaya.
Just sonic wise, like the sound they do with their mouth is impossible for us to say.
Right.
It's just, put aside the language in itself. The way they place their mouth. So when they speak English or whatever they speak, man, it's like really hard.
Yeah, dude. All right. Well,
it's another planet.
Google Translate.
You have to. Then you figure out a little bit the tonic accent, the way they sing, and all those sounds. I cannot even emulate it. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, man, I can't wait to experience it though.
But I love Vietnam. I need Vietnam.
Yeah.
And I need the Philippines, and I need India, and I like Bali. If it can give us a hint.
If you're in this part of the world, that's the great thing, is you can hop around country to country in this
From
part
Bali
of the
to any other country is $150.
Yeah,
but 200 something for the Philippines. For whatever reason, it's more here.
Yeah.
The lodging, renting a bike is more pricey than others.
It's cheaper
which
overall
is
in Vietnam.
Yeah.
It's cheaper there.
Yeah.
Well, lots of good stuff, man. I appreciate you sharing it. Again, maybe we'll get you on the channel.
Awesome, guys. Yeah, well, I mean, definitely a really good video there. I like that he mentioned that part about the flights, too, because they're, let's say, a much better deal than flights internationally in other parts of the world. Or for me, like across the U.S., it will be a lot higher than that, right? It's just something where a lot of us are used to. I'm sure a lot of other Westerners can probably attest to that. Maybe some Aussies on here or some UK guys, Canada, New Zealand, maybe, right? So that's a good point that he brought up. And I like that they were talking about the health thing, because your health and peace of mind is so important. So health is wealth. You might have heard that saying before, but you won't be able to really build that wealth if you don't have your health. So anyways, guys, thank you for making it this far. I appreciate you. And that's it for today. Like, comment, subscribe. Go check out Chad Foster Explores. Check out his channel. It's good stuff as well. And I'll see you in the next one. You got this, bro.